All right. Let's welcome in Coach Hill. He is the offensive coordinator at Molino. I'm going to say that wrong. Molino High School out there in California.
Oh, that was bad, but it's Menlo, but close enough.
Menlo.
Close with no cigar.
Well, I'm a dumb country boy from the cornfield, so I don't pronounce words right. But Coach, thanks for being here.
Oh, thanks for having me. Appreciate it, Steve.
Yeah, and people that can't see, this is before the Super Bowl. He's got his 49er stuff. He's ready to go, man. He's ready to,
You
I
know,
picked him the last time they had this matchup and they almost had it. Me and my neighbors were watching. We're like, oh, they got it. We're going to pick them. And then, oh, screwed it. It just fell apart.
yeah, I'm a little nervous this week, so hopefully we get it done this time.
Yeah. Are you from California? Is that why you're repping that?
Born and raised in San Francisco, Niner
Nice.
fan since birth. So but
Yeah.
I was just too young in the early days to really, you know, understand football during the like Steve Young, Montana days. So now I
Right.
actually understand it, so I can watch it and kind of dissect it a little bit better. So I think this is just my generation's Super Bowl.
Yeah. Um, so let's talk about you. How did you end up wanting to coach, where you're coaching at now? I think I read that you played college ball and did all these other things. So let's talk about how you ended
Sure,
up coaching.
absolutely. I think when you have good coaches going along, coming from youth football. I started football a little bit late, but from youth football, high school, and then to college, and then just coming from our area, San Francisco. Not a lot of opportunities for us within the sports realm, but we are in Silicon
Mhm.
Valley, so I guess that's a little bit contradictory. But just in the sports realm, there wasn't a lot of opportunities. So once I got done playing college ball, played arena ball for about 5 years, and then I just wanted to, that's just a true love, right? Something that since um, childhood ages. So I wanted to give back. So when the time was right, I got into coaching.
How was the arena ball? Because
It was
they're
fun. It was fun. It was fun. It was action packed. So uh, when arena ball played in the IFL indoor league,
uh-huh.
1 year contract. So you kind of bounce around. So had some time here on the West Coast, Arizona. Went out to Texas for a little bit. So bounced around, but it was fun. When you're young and not a lot of bills or responsibilities, it
Mhm.
was some pretty good pay. Hotels, food, and things like that all covered. It was a fun time. You know what I mean? And we are also just still just chasing the dream, whether that be CFL or whatever came about it. So got to live the dream extra 5 years. So it was fun.
Yeah, because I grew up outside of Champaign. That's why I have the U
Oh
of I
yeah.
thing hanging up.
Oh yeah.
Team came to Danville right next to there. And I remember they had open tryouts, so anybody could come and show up.
Mm-hmm.
And so I had walked on at Eastern, got my butt kicked the first year, and I was like, well, this ain't for me. And 2 years later, that team comes along and we're like 20 years old. And people are like, hey, we
Yeah.
should go out and try out. And I'm like, are you crazy? We
Yeah.
haven't done football in 2 years. We're going to hurt ourselves.
Yeah.
And one of my friends made the team and they were like,
Oh
okay,
yeah.
you're going to get $200 a week or something. And he was like, no,
Yeah.
no, I'm not doing
It's
that.
it's not worth it at that point. Well, I mean, it's lucky, they got some when you're in a better position or a better organization, right? They can fluctuate how much you get paid. And, I got lucky throughout my five, so I was able to survive. But it is rough. I don't know what it is now, but it was some rough times in that indoor league. But it was fun though. I mean, you know, packed arenas and people screaming, and
Yeah.
you can't replace those feelings.
I remember watching it and I'm like, this is awesome. And uh,
Yeah.
the old PlayStation 2 game that was out, that arena football, like it was just a
Oh
great
yeah.
time.
Oh
Just,
yeah.
uh, and well, it was funny because you thought I could have played. I was 6'5", 275, walked into Eastern, and they're like, "You're too small," because
Oh wow.
their linemen at the time were 310, and I
Oh
wanted to
yeah.
be a lineman, and they're like, "Now you're too small. You got to be a tight end," and I'm like, "So that means I have to run and I have to catch passes,"
Yeah.
and I come across the middle, get laid out by a linebacker, and I'm like, "Yeah, no, this isn't for me. This ain't it." Uh, thought about the arena thing, but again, I was at the time I was 20 and I'm like, now tear my ACL or something. This isn't gonna.
Right.
Uh,
Yeah.
so when you're done arena ball, you're coaching. Um,
Yeah.
you knew you wanted to go back to California, or was it like you're gonna go somewhere else, or you knew you wanted to go back?
I was kind of in the middle. I was kind of in the middle. during college, I went to school in Oklahoma at Southeastern Oklahoma. That was on
Okay.
the border of like Texas. So we were in Dallas a lot, and a lot of our teammates were from the Dallas area. So
Mhm.
being from California, I spent a lot of not Christmas, well, Christmas, Thanksgiving, holidays down there in Dallas. So I really wanted to stay out there, but it just opportunities presented itself to come back home, and it kind of made a little bit more sense. So came back, and then at that point, knew I wanted to coach, and then my son started to want to play football, and then I saw the
Mhm.
expertise of the coaches in that level, so I knew I had to put my goals on hold. So I coached Pop Warner, man. I was tying
Okay.
5-year-old tennis shoes and putting in mouthpieces,
Yeah,
like
yeah, yeah.
before the game. So that was fun, and it's just crazy, like just the to see those kids now. A lot of them guys are in a high school, and some are even college now. So just to help them out, and I did that for about I want to say 7 years. So I felt my son knew the sport enough. Like we knew how to tackle, we knew how to move your head to the right direction. We knew not to lead with your head. Think like the
Right.
safety basics, and then I can go coach high school football. So then I started coaching at a Sacred Heart Cathedral in San Francisco, and then I can go to his practices after. So it just worked out. It was a perfect blend. So that allowed me to coach high school, and I coached at Sacred Heart for a couple years. Got lucky down there, and we won a state championship, first ever championship for that program. And then after a couple years, I switched schools. I went to Menlo School, which is a smaller private school in the peninsula, probably about 30 minutes from San Francisco. And I've been
Hmm.
there going on my third year. And I got lucky there. We won a section title our first year, and last year we came up short in the semis. At the end, we lost by 4. So
Hmm.
it's been a pretty good run as far as high school football. So I'm enjoying it.
Well, I want you to know you have all this experience. You look like you're 30 years old. I'm like, man, this guy's like
I
28, 30
appreciate
years old. He's,
appreciate that. I'm a little bit older, but thank you. Yeah, I appreciate that.
I know I'm only 33 and I'm like, oh my God, I look older than him. What the hell's wrong with me?
A quick shave before I got on here. Hey, things that matter.
Well, I also coach all three sports, so it could be the stress.
Oh yeah. What other
Football,
sports do you coach?
basketball, and then I did track for 7 years. I've been coaching
Uh,
since right after I was done playing college. Like I
oh
walked
yeah.
on for that year. I was 18, 19. I said I immediately started coaching. So I've been doing it ever since.
Oh yeah.
I've done track for 7 years. I did baseball for 2 years. Now I'm going to do softball for the first time. That will be interesting.
Uh, nice. Yeah, I did basketball for a few years, even at the high school level, travel ball level. Then I just kind of realized if you want to be like the best coordinator that you can be, you
Hmm.
kind of got to do a lot of studying during the off season.
Right.
So instead of just hopping right into basketball, I just kind of decided during this time I'm gonna take a break and just kind of relax, and then start diving into studies and things that we can improve, and trying to get to spring balls and learning from these local guys, and just hitting that trail. So it paid dividends. It really did. Just I got a better understanding of football, O line play, defensive play, et cetera, just to make me a better coordinator. So I still love basketball. I love to watch basketball. So I get a
Yeah.
little bit of that, but just don't have to coach it.
Well, in Illinois, it's a grind. I get to school and it's dark out. I leave and it's dark out, and
Oh
it's
yeah.
just and like well, so last year we went 2-7. So in Illinois, you get 9 regular season games. We went two and
Mm-hmm.
seven last year, so we didn't make the playoffs. And there was 2 weeks in between football ending and basketball starting. So at least I had 2 weeks to like do nothing.
Right.
This year we had like an historic run for the school. We went 6-3, made the playoffs, got to the second round, lost the second round by like a touchdown
Oh yeah.
on that Friday. Saturday, you never really relax because you're replaying the game in your head,
Yeah,
and
for
all
sure.
that.
For sure. For sure.
Sunday, you're kind of winding down. Monday, all right, basketball tryouts. So it was just
Yeah.
like boom,
Right
boom.
to it.
Ugh.
Yeah, right to it.
And so like that first 2 weeks of basketball, I was the most irritable person. I'm like, I'm exhausted. I'm still pissed
Yeah.
about this playoff game. We turned the ball over 5 times in that game. So it's like we fumble within the 10 twice, throw a
Yeah.
bubble screen. He's got 6 yards. He's fighting for more yards. They come out and punch it out, throw an interception, all that stuff.
That'll
And
keep you up at night right there. That'll keep you up.
so I'm irritable. We have a Thanksgiving tournament. I'm yelling at the refs for no reason. And I'm like, what the hell am
Right.
I doing? And then But I'll get 2 weeks off before softball at least. Thank God.
Yeah, for
Like,
sure. We need that little break just to like to reset the mind and get ready for the next thing.
well, that's the thing. Like, even with basketball, I'm still looking at football stuff. Like, it never stops.
Right, right,
Every I see the OC every day. I see the head coach every day. We're always talking football because
right.
our OC coaches girls basketball. Our head coach doesn't coach a winter sport, but he coaches baseball. So when baseball hits, he looks to us for help. But we all coach sports, and it's like
Right.
it's hard. But we never stop talking football. I never stop looking at things. I do this podcast. It never stops. Uh, my admin might fire me. I'm at school looking at stuff. Like it's
Yeah.
just, to me, basketball is easier. I'm like, we'll go to practice and do this, do this. Football is just so much that can
It
happen.
takes a lot of moving parts in football. I mean, in basketball, no offense to basketball coach, you just got to get 11 players to be doing the right thing at the right time compared to five per se. So that's what makes it a little bit harder.
Yeah. If you have at least two athletes on basketball, you can run whatever. Five out, ISO, go. Like just be an athlete.
Yeah.
Like in football, it's kind of the same thing, but you kind of need, hey, if two of these old linemen don't do something, the quarterback's gonna get killed. And so
Yeah,
that's,
you're going to get crushed.
in basketball, it's like drive to the lane and get fouled, shoot some free throw. Like,
Yeah, I
and
hear you.
so it's been, yeah. Um,
The basketball coach is going to hate us, but we got respect for them too. But I understand where you're coming from.
oh, if my head coach listens to this, then he'll say something to me. He's not afraid to. I won't be afraid to tell him either that I'll be like, yeah, if we have two really good athletes, not saying the coaching's easy, but come up with some plays to get them the ball and
Yeah.
basketball.
Well, ISO screen away, get to the
Yeah.
bucket.
Yeah. Or like just, hey, just run this play, just continuous movement, get to the lane.
Right.
But I say, I'm not afraid. I tell the kids that, like, when they freak out, I'm like, guys, basketball is super, super easy. Like, if you think about it, it's super easy. There's not much to adjust to. In football, there's all these adjustments. They could
Yeah.
do whatever. Like, hey, we're going to lock up this one receiver and play different coverage over here, but we're going to line up.
Yeah.
Basketball, oh, it's a 1-2-2 zone. It's a 2-3 zone. There's no hiding it.
Right. 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 It is what it is. A little bit straightforward, but
Yeah. Who do you research for your offense? Like, who do you look to in the off season and watch to try to help you out?
absolutely. So I kind of focus on schemes, like what kind of fits what we do. So if as far as like running counter, obviously we coast on the West Coast. It used to be Oklahoma, now it's
Yeah.
USC, right? How do they creatively run counter? Because that's just a big play for us, and I really like counter.
Mhm.
So I'm studying USC. If in our past game we running mesh, so we at
Yeah.
USC and looking at Sarkeesian down there in Texas. And then White Cross, obviously, you got to go to Chip Kelly and them. But we do got some air raid wide splits. So I'm looking at Tennessee. So I kind of just look at what fits what we do. A while ago, it used to be BYU because we ran a lot of
Mhm.
wide zone and things like that. So I kind of just study what fits us. So I think I kind of got to have my identity, what I want to run, what we good at, what we're going to practice. So I just study those type of guys, and then I mean, obviously on Twitter, it's just so much, or Twitter
Oh,
and YouTube, it's just so much information on there,
yeah.
right? And you kind of got to like be, decipher through it all. But if it fits your scheme, then take a peek at it, right? You
Right.
know what I mean? Like we don't run too much choice, so I'm not looking at a lot of choice stuff. You know what I mean? So we don't run pin and pull or buck sweep, so I don't look at those things. You know what I mean? So just fit what we do, and I just want to master that the best that I can within our scheme.
Well, that happened during COVID. Like all the stuff blew up. I mean,
Yeah,
there was stuff out there. Obviously, you had some coaches putting stuff up, but when COVID hit, it just blew up because nobody had anything. That's how this podcast started. I started right before
yeah,
COVID, and then COVID hit,
yeah,
and
right,
I like overdosed on all the stuff.
yeah,
Like it was really. I have a tote full of stuff, like just writing it
yeah.
down and playbooks people sent me, and you're just like, and I'm
Yeah.
like, I want to run it all. I want to do everything.
Right. You want to get after it all. I remember
Yeah,
COVID. Was it like for me? They had a lot of online coaching clinics. So
yeah,
I went to
yeah,
one went down to
yeah.
Colorado, and I went to Liberty per se. So that's what the greatest part of COVID for the clinics were. You didn't have to go there, right? And
Right.
you just can sign up and I clinicked. I felt like I clinicked all over the nation and met so many people along the way, right? So COVID was a weird time for sure, and wearing masks and all the type of stuff with them playing the game. But then at the same time, it allowed me as a young coach getting back in the game to study and learn, right? This is a
Hmm.
little bit slower pace. So, yeah.
Um, did you take anything from your college playing days into it, or when you started to like really get in the high school game, like, hey, these are high school kids, maybe I can't use some of this stuff, or like take anything from that?
Right. So within college, I went to San Francisco City College. At the time, it was like the top JUCO in the nation. We had really good coaches, and we ran some things really well, like tunnel screens. We ran it
Mhm.
so well. So when I got and within our offense, we run tunnel screens really well too. That was like
Yeah.
something that I had some type of attachment to, and I knew I can talk to still the coaches there to learn how do you do it. What is the tackle supposed to do? What does the guards count before they shoot to that flat or whatnot. So I took that from there. And then along the way, just took a little bit of everything along the way and kind of just tried to piece it together. And then as I got into high school, I was a younger coach, and then the head coach at the time, he had his system. So I'm like, okay, I like this, but I don't
Mhm.
like this, and we're gonna do this. So I got this miss and
Yeah.
match the thing that fit Mike.
Yeah. Because I might be going backwards. Like when you did become an OC, like you said, you know what you want to do, but it is high school. So when you come in, you have to adjust. And when you came in, did you have to sell what you wanted to do to them? Did you have to, how did you get the kids to buy in? Like, was there any of that going on when you became?
For sure. I think, man. So I coached originally in San Francisco, and then
Yeah.
the kids knew I played football. I'm from the same area. I played at a high level, played for a lot of years, so that was like the buy-in factor. And then,
Uh-huh.
of course, there's going to be doubts within, maybe not from the kids, but probably more adults and parents and you
Yeah.
know things
Yeah.
like that. But the kids tend to gravitate it, and then they made it a lot easier. We had really good players at the time, and then their buy-in just let our offense take off. So
Yeah. Because like you said, if you want to do inside zone, wide zone counter, but you come in and you're like, well, they can't do wide zone. So
right,
do I have something else in my tool belt to do it, or am I only, you know, narrow
right,
minded to this thing?
and that was an issue. Like my first year, that's kind of all I knew was wide zone and things like that. Then I had to figure out. I liked inside zone, but I liked it to hit a little bit faster, more like a
Mhm.
midline, right?
Yeah.
Just
Yeah.
hit it and go. So that was my tweak within that, and we still ran wide zone, and then find out that the complement to wide zone is counter. I'm like, oh wow, this play is a lot better. So I'll still run wide zone to set up counter, but I kind of gravitated away from wide zone and we more inside zone
Yeah.
counter speed option type of offense now. So it just took it's some growth, right? And I just feel like now, even my third year here at Menlo, just a little bit more comfortable within myself as a play caller. Like I
Yeah.
know I don't have to give up on something just because it doesn't work on the first play in the game.
Yeah. That happened to me. I became an OC at like 25 years old, and I thought I knew it all. And
Right,
then
right, right.
I went to a different school in 2018, and I only knew inside zone as like, hey, we're gonna stay on our track, we're gonna do all that. I got to that high school, and he goes, no, we double team. Like we got a double team. We don't have the
Yeah,
athletes to go one on one, and I loved it, like the way it worked.
right,
You know, so when I got to the school I'm at now, I took the job in summer of 2020, like an idiot. Like COVID can't last this long, so I took it.
right, 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 right.
I came in, that's how they did inside zone. I said, no, 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 we're gonna do it this way, and we stuck with it. But I was very because I was a run game guy, so I'm like, I'm very
Mm.
an asshole essentially. Like we're just gonna do this, like this. We're not gonna do the other thing.
Right, right, right.
Um, Stuck with it for the last few years. This year we continue to do it. A team finally figured out how to stop it. If we slant everybody really
Yeah,
fast
yeah, yeah.
and do all
That
this
caused some
stuff.
havoc. Yeah,
So at halftime, I said, guys, we're just all going to step to the right and left and go. And it fixed it. So
right,
the rest of the year, teams started slanting because we did wide zone, did that. Well, once we did that, they realized that's not working anymore. So they stopped slanting.
right.
And so, like you said, we had to tweak it there. And then I also had to tweak it because we all know inside zone's supposed to hit at the guard. Like you're aiming at the
Yeah,
guard
yeah.
and
Right,
cut.
right, right.
Well, when you're in high school and you don't have a Division 1 running back, Division 2 running
Yeah,
back, even maybe a Division 3 running back,
right.
you have to adjust. So if their vision's not good, they're hitting the C gap. I adjusted and I said, hey, you're going to aim for the center's leg.
Yeah, right,
So
right,
if you
right.
watched film on us, you probably the inside gurus, oh, this is mid zone, this isn't inside
Right.
zone. And I'm like,
Right.
well, to
Right.
me, it's still in like I hate that. To
Yeah.
me, it's still inside zone because
Right.
overcompensating, hopefully they'll hit the guard area, or
Yeah. For sure. For
if you're
sure.
aiming for the center, maybe they actually, because you know how some high school kids are, you tell them to aim for the guard, they freak out when it's clogged up and they're going to try to bounce it, you
They
know?
going that way. Yeah, that's what the problem that I had. So then that's why I was more midline. Like you gotta press all the way through the line of scrimmage, then you can bounce. Because
Yeah.
they exactly once a guy blew up or whatnot, they were bouncing, tackle for a loss, etc.
Yeah.
I did want to say there. I had an offensive coordinator before. I was a pass game coordinator, DB coach. Um, Tobias Whitley. He's out in Texas now, but he gave me a lot of um, he gave me a lot of ability to add stuff, to his offense.
Mhm.
Coach, I think we should do this, and why do you do this? So then he was a guy too that kind of helped me, and I still use some things from his offense,
Yeah.
right? As far as like terminology and quick screens and things like that. So I just think like you kind of just got to keep being a sponge, and then just find your thing that
Mhm.
you're ready to die on that hill for, right? So,
Right. But you
and
also
that's
don't
kind
want
of
to, you don't want to put everything in. Like we did that because California might have been the same. Like COVID for Illinois, like we didn't play till the spring.
yeah,
So
right, 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 for sure.
normally we have 9 games. Well, in Illinois, it was like in the middle of January. They said, "Hey, you
Yeah,
can play sports again." So it went basketball, or it went winter sports,
you're right.
fall sports, spring sports,
Yeah,
and again, I did all three. I did football, basketball, track. So they overlapped. There was a week and a half overlap of each
for
season.
sure. Yeah, me too that year. Yeah, I
Yeah.
was doing both.
And so
It,
the first game, we only had ISO and inside zone. That was it.
yeah,
And did not have a good spring. We only won one game. And so then in June, probably like everybody else, they said, hey, go back to normal. So it went straight back to what it was. Then you play in the
absolutely.
fall. So they have 2 seasons technically.
Right, right,
And us as coaches, we almost panicked because we felt so underprepared in the spring because the head coach was on step. The head coach was an assistant coach. He got the job
hmm
January of 2020. We didn't know COVID
right in the
was
heart
a
of it.
thing.
Yeah,
Oh yeah. And so we were trying to do a different kind of type of defense. I come in as a run game guy, kind of true O line. They never had like a true O line coach. I played O line and
right,
coached it. I was the first one. We're trying to tweak, do these things. So we felt so underprepared that fall we probably had 6 to 7 run schemes and all these tweaks,
right,
all this
right, right, right.
passing defense. We're
Yeah,
trying to do all these coverages. And guess
it's
what
too
happened?
much.
We go 0-9. Like, guess what happens? You went 0 and
Yeah,
9. And
yeah. Get back to the basics.
yeah, and that's why the next year we went 2-7, but we had some injuries. Like we went through 5 quarterbacks. Like
Oh
we
yeah, oh
five.
yeah,
And,
yeah.
and so like this year was the first time where we all really were like on paper in our coach's book or whatever, we can have all this stuff. But you draw a line of we're only doing this. But
Right.
if this ain't working, we can unplug it, plug this one in,
Yep.
you
Yep.
know.
Yep. Yep. And I had that. I think not this year. We kind of stayed true, but last year we wanted to do. Had a coach who had experience being like trap and power, so
Yeah.
he wanted to do trap and power. Then we wanted to do wide zone and counter and inside zone. And I was like, dude, what? And after the season, like, what the f were we like?
Yeah.
Like, if somebody said, what did y'all do?
Yeah.
Too much, too
Yeah.
much. You know what I mean? Like too much. We were trying to just be instead of like mastering certain things, we tried to like, okay, that's not working. This is our variation, right? And then this year was a little bit more. There was always a counter to it. We can make tweaks, and if we run and counter, we can have our center pull instead of our guard
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
tackle. GY counter, but there was still a way to run counter, so that
Yeah.
stayed true. So
Yeah. Um, the O-line coach at Ohio University, we become friends. What's the phrase he told me? He's like, if you're going to do things, you got to make sure that what you do is not going to be inexpensive to what you do.
first,
Because
yeah,
you
yeah,
make an
yeah,
expensive move, you're installing something completely new. Is this going to mess up anything? And that's coming from a guy at the college level. Like he's like, you got to
right,
make it inexpensive.
for
And
sure.
so that's why they marry inside zone. Like that's who they are.
Yeah, you got to. Yeah, you got to.
And
Yeah.
so like he talks about his run plays and he's like, okay, he's like, I'll be honest with you, Steve, we don't run power all that much. So to us, if we were to go in practice, they spend more time on that stuff than power. They'll still go over it, but it's just not something they do. It's
Right.
inexpensive for them to take a couple reps.
Yes.
It'd be very
Yes.
expensive if they said, well, we got to run power exactly the same as inside zone or anything else. And
Mm-hmm.
so coming into this year, we said inside zone, wide zone, ISO. And then I said, okay, I know our OC loves power. He's like power, 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 power. And I
Yeah.
said, we just don't have a true fullback guy to kick out. Like we just don't.
Yeah.
So what's the inexpensive thing to do off of that? Well, practice it a couple of times. We'll do power read out of it. So we still get a power.
Right.
We can run RPO off of it. It's not
Right.
expensive. And then if you wanted to do like a power, like run counter, but we call it power switch. Because again, if we installed counter, our kids would be like counter, counter.
Yeah.
So
Right.
we called
Right.
it power switch. And they said, what's power switch? Switch is telling the guard to kick out and the H back's leading up. And
Right.
and I said,
Right.
and guess what? It's ISO to you. And
Yeah.
it clicked with them. They're like, oh, power switch. You have to say the words. And, you know,
Yeah.
our defensive coach was like, well, wait a minute, that's just counter. And we're like, shh, we know it's counter, but they don't see it that way.
Right, right. And it's not like learning a new run system, you know. And I think the thing is, if you don't marry a system, at least for me, being a younger coordinator, when it's not working, you like hell. Like I don't care how long we spunt during the week, 3, 4 days, we're not running it again. So it
Right.
was a crazy expense to try to run all these run schemes. The pass game
Right.
we stayed true to, but we spent a lot of money.
Yeah.
Invested a lot of money on some busted stocks my second year here, but now we kind of figure out where we should be placing our bets.
Yeah. That happened to us that fall year. I'm telling you, it was inside zone, ISO, power, counter, pin and pull. And so
Yeah,
it was all these
sounds like this.
things.
Yeah, like, yeah,
And
man.
my old line's heads would be spinning sometimes just because they would confuse it or
Yeah,
like what you've probably seen. You call power and both guards pull at the same time, and they're like,
yeah,
and I'm like, oh
yeah.
God,
Right. Tackle for a loss and you going crazy.
losing it. And that's why I think this year was better because they knew, hey, it's inside zone, wide zone. Uh, we didn't do pin and pull. We made it a toss place. We only pulled the front side.
Okay.
It's still pin
Yeah.
and pull concepts just till the center. Anything past the center is
Right.
not pulling. Uh,
Yeah.
and so to them, it was very simple. And that's all like every day they got bored because we're going over the same stuff. The only thing you tweak,
Yeah.
obviously, is hey, this week we're seeing a 3-3 team. So this is what it's going to look
Yeah.
like. And
Right. Right. Right.
if they get into a 2-eye, like this is what's going to look like. And, and the adjustments were very easy on how we could fix it. And so I think for us, I mean, making the playoffs for the first time since 2014, I think that had a bit to do with it.
For sure. For
And then we
sure.
had, and then not to stick all on run game, but like even the pass game, like we had to make sure that we're not tagging things. We got to make sure that if you're going to tag, it's one guy. It's
Yeah,
not,
one guy. Yeah,
yeah,
and for us, it's 3 by 1. It's the solo guy. You can tag that. Any of that other things have to be like game plan during the week,
yeah,
right? Like,
yeah,
but not we can tag the. For me, we tag the slot on this one. No, it's just the solo guy. Make it easy, easy call. Quarterback and the receiver. They have to know, and then they can
mhm,
run a true concept on the front side. So that's just
yeah.
something that we did that worked, paid dividends for us.
If we tagged, I kind of convinced him to do the old Mike Leach thing. Like if you tag something, it's going to probably be a post. Like if you're doing something,
Yeah,
it's hey,
yeah,
this guy's going to run a post. Because if we run shallow, obviously, so it's like, hey, this guy's coming down on the dig. We're going to call a post right behind it.
right,
That's the only
right,
thing we're
right,
tagging. And
right.
you know, because before we could be like, hey, let's run this play, but you're going to do this. And then, hey, you got to run this. And now you got two kids thinking at the same time.
Yeah, and then confusion. Yeah, so we'll tag backside post, post corner, come
Yeah.
back. Just things within that range there, or just a vertical streak, but nothing too crazy, but something that can be effective, especially if we run in the same concept, over and over and seeing that corner or boundary safety start to creep. So
Right. Um, so with like air raid stuff, I know you're not true air raid. You talk about running the football. Um, air raid people are like, wait, running the football. And I'm like, yeah,
right,
plenty of air raid guys. I had a high school coach on. He's pure air raid. He went and watched Tal Mummy at Kentucky in the 90s. Like he was there. And
right,
he's like, Steve, I had 2,500 rushing yards this year. And I go, what? He goes,
yeah.
it was a 5-man box. I'd be stupid to not run the
For
football.
sure, for sure, for sure. Got to stay balanced. I think we'll sling it. There's some times when our quarterbacks threw it 40 times, and there's a game in the playoffs where our quarterback ran 25 times and our running back ran 27, right? Because the
Wow.
box was light. right?
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And that won the game. So I'm not married to pass or run, like whatever's going to win the game. And I think for us, it's about like just being a teammate. Like sometimes
Yeah.
it's your game, sometimes it's the run game, sometimes it's the we call it 1, 2, 3, or 4 receiver. Maybe it's your
Mhm.
game, or maybe it's the tight end. So I think that's what was great about us this year. We finished 10-2, but everybody knew like the clock gonna spin. You'll get your chance, and then it'll be one game
Yeah.
when it's short. You know what I mean? And
Yeah. Do you practice like an air raid team, like you're gonna do all the pat and go stuff, set up a noose, or is that just
absolutely, yeah, we pat and go. We mesh and working, and we run mesh. Like we true to
yeah.
the mesh. That's one of our favorite concepts. So we talk about investments. We invest in the mesh, right? We score, I want to say, 8 to 10 touchdowns. Pretty much every year I've been a coordinator off mesh. So we are married to that, and we won't be divorcing anytime
Mhm.
soon. So we spend a lot of time on that, and we spend a lot of time on. We'll kind of break it up. We'll go run day on Tuesday,
Mhm.
full pass on Wednesday, and then Thursday would be maybe a pass and a screen day. And then
Yeah.
anything that we kind of need to like, that didn't look too good on Tuesday. Let's bring that over here, and then just kind of do like a combo day on Thursday. So we try to keep it separate within the schemes, and we get an hour or so just to try to perfect that and get ready. A lot of our games, our home games are on Saturday, so we also,
Okay.
if we had a home game, we had an extra day, and that was just a little bit better for us. That gave us Monday to be more body recovery,
Yeah.
new play install, and then Tuesday we'll hit the ground running. So it was very beneficial playing for us on Saturday.
Yeah. I don't like I like that from an extra day standpoint, but I don't like playing on Saturdays. I
Yeah,
don't
it's tough. It's tough. It's tough. Just like it's long weeks, but we got used to it. The problem for us is sometimes in the playoffs, like we didn't. This year we didn't get the home seat our first game, so we went Saturday back to Friday.
oh
But then
yeah.
we got a home seed the next game, so it can work for you. We still got to play Friday nights if we're playing away, so it's kind of there's a balance.
Yeah. Um with will you RPO any of the air raid stuff like the quick game stuff, or is your RPO passes like just completely different? Or if
No,
you
so
do it at all.
we RPO for sure. We had a mobile quarterback. We'll go 3-by-1 wide zone or counting to the boundary, and then obviously we got the quick game now screens. To
Yeah.
the 3-by-1. We kind of switched it up. We will go same side RPO,
Hmm.
run to the boundary, RPO to the backside. So we had to, right? We had to, right? There has
Yeah.
to be I always call it a plan B to our plan A. So if we run and counter, we're getting good at that. Now this alley player or our boundary safety is starting to try to fill that hole, then we can pop it over the top. Or just if we in any formation, if we got numbers 3-by-1, 2-by-2, and then we're plus a guy, we throwing the ball right now. Now
Yeah.
screen right now, get it and go. So um, try do a little bit of tempo. So that was quick for us. Like anytime we had the numbers, our quarterbacks had the authority to audible to a quick game
Yeah.
right now. And as we got later in the season, they can check to some pass plays, right? Deep pass plays, like, oh, coach, 3-by-1 single high safety. We went, basically the four verts variation of
Hmm.
air raid, right? And the bender by number 3, and everybody else just carrying. So we got to a place, and it took a while. We got to a place where they called some plays our quarterbacks, and shit, I got credit for that, and I didn't do anything, and they called some plays, and it was a disaster, and I took the blame, but it was just something that you had to do, but just to give them the freedom to own that offense, and
Right.
once they owned it, it was theirs, right? So
Well,
I'll do it again. I'll give them a lot of leeway once we get there.
yeah, because we let me phrase this. Talking to coaches that run like true area, they run stick, they run corner.
For
Some
sure.
coaches they don't RPO it because they feel like it's a different read from like
Yeah.
the great passing. But then some I talk to, they're like, "Hey, I don't want to add new plays, so if I'm running stick, I just lock the tackle. We RPO the inside zone, lock the tackle, and he's so the
Right.
quarterback's still reading that apex defender out there. And
Yeah.
we try. We don't really run true air raid quick game, but if we got double slants here and like a dig or a short, an in here, that's an RPO. So we didn't want to teach the
Yeah.
guys new things like
Right.
telling the quarterback like, hey, inside zone, obviously you're reading. If it's a read zone, you're reading the defensive end. That
Yeah.
defensive end to the next guy. Like if he crashes in,
Right.
the next guy. If we RPO it, you're just looking to pass it. If you don't like it, just hand it off. And so we didn't really
Right.
add plays. We were just like, hey, here's our 3 quick games. That's also our RPO. So you don't have to worry
Right. Right.
about nothing at all.
Right. We kind of did a little bit of both, like just a little bit of both, and then also with me, with the quarterbacks, do they feel comfortable? Do you like this? And if they didn't like it, shit, I didn't like it, right? Because
Right.
if they don't like it, then they ain't gonna like it on game day, and they ain't gonna hit how you want it to do. So, spent a lot of time on our quarterbacks. Obviously, quarterback meetings and quarterback outings or whatnot, right? Just to
Right.
get comfortable with them, and knowing them, and then we can, kind of work together. I think that's the best plan, at least in my experience. Like working with your quarterback, see what they comfortable with, and then also being able to realize, are they uncomfortable? Can we make them comfortable? Right? Is something making them uncomfortable, or is it just like, hey, this ain't gonna work. Let's move on.
Right. We did that because we had a young quarterback. He broke his foot as a freshman. This year we kind of forced him. He wanted to go back, he wanted to go play receiver. And we are like, nah, you're a quarterback. Like you just one
Yeah.
of those kids, like you're a quarterback. Well, because our 6'3", 210-pound quarterback senior decided not to play. So we were like, oh, okay, here we go.
Right. 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 Yeah.
Um, we told him
That
not to
hurts.
run the football off the inside zone because he would never in practice and sometimes the games carry out a fake. So we were like, hey,
Mm-hmm.
we'll tell you when to keep it. But
Right. Right. Yep. Yep. Yep.
the beauty was never did it until to the second round playoff game. Second half, there was a Division 1 defensive end we were going against. Like he was getting, when I say Division 1, like MAC, like he was getting recruited by all the
Yeah.
MAC schools.
Yeah.
Second half, I told the OC it's time to do it. Like we got to. So he kept started to
Right.
pull the ball and run. I'm like, you're making this defensive end look silly right now because he just kept
Right.
crashing in. Our
Yeah.
quarterback had 200 yards rushing that game. Like he
Yeah.
was just, and again, what was the quarterback comfortable with? And he was like, I kind of like this running. He would not run down the downhill. Like
Yeah. Right.
most power reads, he would hand it off just because he didn't want
Yeah.
to go.
Big
But
uglies in there. Yeah.
oh yeah, to go around though, ooh, he was like, I'll do
Right.
it. I'll do it. He leaped over a kid. And we're like,
Yeah.
okay. Okay. He tried to
Hey,
lower
a
his
lot of athlete
shoulder.
there. Yeah.
He tried to lower his shoulder, and we were like, hey, you don't have to do all that now. Just get out of bounds. Like you don't
Yeah, yeah, get
care.
out of bounds. Yeah, we had a quarterback. He was just so tough, man. Like, dude, you're gonna hurt yourself. Like, just slide, go out of
Yeah.
bounds. Like that's cool. Let's move the stick. So we had that same thing. And I think when you get those type of players, man, D1 defensive end, read them. Shit, you can't
Mhm.
block them,
Yeah.
right? Like you're gonna power through your tackle, so you might as well read them and hope he makes the wrong decision. So that's what we'll do. We'll key in on any you know big time player, somebody that we don't think we can block for that long, or sprint out away from him and things like that, or put him in conflict. But yeah,
We
gotta adjust.
our key was to try to do split zone. Like, hey, if we could just get in front of him
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
or
Yep.
or
Yep.
or leak him out and see if he's going to
Yeah.
go with that guy. Like that was our answer at first, and then
Yeah.
my job is to see what the box is doing, obviously, and what they're doing. I said,
Mm-hmm.
hey, every time we do inside zone and don't do split zone, he is crashing in. He wants to
Find
tackle
out.
us.
Yeah.
You know, they were the number 2 seed, we're the 25th seed, so they were like
Right.
they're chomping
Yeah.
at the bit to like stick it to us. And I mean, it was 7-7.5, and I'm like, hey, we got to do this.
Yeah.
Like
It's about time. Yeah.
it was one of those games where the other coaching staff was in shock, and you're like, well, because like their starting quarterback was also their starting middle linebacker. So you want to talk about a tough kid? Like they had
Tough. Yeah.
tough. Oh,
Hell
and
yeah.
the cherry on top was I used to coach at that school we were playing, so I'm looking at the coach like we got to win, we got to get this, and uh,
Yeah.
I pulled a Connor Stallion because they net that head coach over there never. He's a huddle guy. When I coach there,
Yeah.
he's a huddle guy until he's not. Like if he goes no huddle, it's just because there's 2 minutes left or whatever it is.
Mm-hmm.
So to try to throw us off, they went no huddle the very first series. So I'm like, wait, what are they doing? And I'm looking, I'm like, oh, you didn't change your signals in 5 years.
Right. Right.
So I'm yelling at the DC, it's going left. It's a run play going left. I don't know what run play it is, but it's going
It's
left.
going left. Yeah.
And head coach on the headset is like, okay, Connor Stallion, calm down. And I'm
Right.
like,
Right. 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 But what are you supposed to do if you know it's there? You want your team to win. Shit, it's not
I,
cheating. But hey, that's the problem with playing teams. That you have coaches on the staff from it. We thought about that and scheduling this year. Like, okay, we got some coaches over there. I would have, and especially game one, I would have to flip my whole verbiage
Yeah.
or language upside down. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, so
I just had a coach on coach, his name's Coach Cooley, he coaches in Tennessee at a high school. I just had him on here and he shared with me his whole document and it's everybody has a wristband and
mm-hmm,
every single all the numbers tell that player what to do. So if you're the X receiver and he called some type of play, he looks at it. They say, "Hey, number 25." He looks at 25 and it says slant. Okay. And he gets up and he's like, "I got a slant."
oh,
Uh,
gotcha.
oh, linemen have it too. So like if it's, "Hey, run," hey, the quarterback gets the number and he goes, "Hey, 11, 11, 11." They look at 11. Oh, it's counter left and they go. And
Wow.
he shared with me the whole document. So I'm like, how long did that take to make? He goes, oh, it takes a while. Trust me. Like
Oh,
it's,
for sure, for sure.
but he's like, for him, he got to the high school, they averaged 9 points a game. Now they were averaging like 28 points a game. Like,
Right. He
eh,
invested. He married that. He
oh yeah,
married that one.
he married it. He loves it. He's a young guy, and he's like, the beauty of it is, he's like, hey, number 1 through 10 are probably inside zone plays for the linemen, but they're all like, so the defense will never pick up on it. Like, hey, number 2 and number 7 are probably the same. 3 and 9 are
Right.
probably the same. Now in the quarterback has it all. Like, so if he looks at
Yeah.
it, hey, number 20, number 5 is inside zone left, and it says ED. It's telling him to read the defensive end. If
Mm-hmm.
it's saying a different one, now he's reading somebody different. So it's telling the quarterback what
Gotcha.
to
Yeah.
do. It even has stock blocking, like who to block. So during the week, it will say, "Hey, you're stock blocking
Person's.
this,
Yeah.
yeah, for the
Oh
receiver."
wow, that's intense. That's intense. I guess I ain't that strict. I give them a little bit more freedom. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Within, but we did wristbands. We did wristbands, and then it just didn't work for us per se. Like we weren't.
Hmm.
Maybe I wasn't getting the calls in fast enough, and a lot of looking around. So now we just more hand signals,
Hmm.
one word plays, right? That'll tell motion, all that within one. So I moved towards that. This year will be more, one signal, hand signals, right?
Yeah.
And just kind of be able to go a little bit faster. But I
Yeah.
did the wristbands. We tried the wristband, and it worked good. I mean, we won a section championship with the wristband. So there's
Yeah.
no offense to the wristband, but we just moved on a little bit.
Yeah. No, we thought about it, but like I said, like kind of like you, like concept. So if you have a name for it, like originally we were, if it's like, hey, we're gonna run, I don't know, call it Texas. Like Texas could be
Mm-hmm.
whatever you want it to be, but if the
For
kids
sure.
that the
Yeah.
name is Texas, like what it is, you're like, oh, you're like shit, like they don't know. So then we had
Mm-hmm.
to kind of go back to like, hey, this is mesh, this is shallow, this is whatever,
Right.
call it those things. But even our kids were just sometimes get confused. So the wristbands ROC came up with was, exactly kind of what that coach did, kind of. It was, and on his though, it said mesh. X has this, Z has this. It had it all on
Gotcha.
there
Right, 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 right,
because sometimes we move kids around, or if you don't have the depth, someone's hurt, and you get a new guy in,
right.
you look at it. But I never found the most perfect way to do the wristband until that coach showed me that. I was like, that might
Yeah,
be, I guess, the most simplest way to do it.
yeah.
And they can go as fast as he wants and go as slow as he wants.
Right, right,
But
right.
but then I asked him about his play sheet. And he goes, "Oh yeah, on my play sheet, I have to have we're gonna run stick, and next to his play sheet on stick, it gives him all the numbers that it's on the wristband, so he can pick whichever one."
Gotcha,
And
gotcha, gotcha.
so I'm like, so you have to be really simple then, right? He goes, "Oh yeah." I said, "I can't have all this stuff."
Right.
And so for his kids, they see slant, they know what a slant is. They see this, they know
Yeah.
what this is, and it's not concept based, so they're not overthinking it. And but
Right.
I love the concept names. Like call it a
Yeah.
concept.
We more like concept, just like kind of you said, players plug in. So we do numbers 1, 2, 3, 4, and then we don't travel our outside receivers. So our slots go left and right, right. And if we're in 2 by 2, they'll split. But doing that, everybody had to learn every position, right? We don't have
Yeah.
a X, Y, Z. You know what I mean? Like we got four receivers out there, right? And you got to know where you're at. And as far as like our depth chart, our fifth receiver, if somebody's hurt, you got to plug in and we'll move somebody. So
Right.
you don't know if you're going to plug into the slot or plug into the outside. So uh, those guys knew everything. So essentially, all 12 of our receivers or 14 of these guys can play any position. I'm not saying that they're the best at every position, but they can go in for a play and we
Right.
call a play, they'll give us a play. You know what I
Right.
mean? And we're
Right.
able to make a move. So we're not really we got outsides and insides, but that also changes. So we just got a group of guys, and you better kind of learn it all if you want to play. So
We kind of did that. Like, hey, these 3 or 4 kids are going to know the outside guys, and for us,
mm-hmm.
the outside guys have the same things all the time. Like they should know it. And then
Right,
of course you have your inside guys because we had a couple kids that could play a slot Y or a slot H.
right,
But then some of those kids cannot play the inside H or the inside Y, so that's kind of where it changed.
right.
But at least for us, so we knew if this kid went down, we at least had one. Like you said, we could put this one kid in
Yeah,
as an outside because for us, the outside guys have the easiest jobs. Like their routes
yeah.
aren't huge. It's always
Yeah,
the
they don't
inside.
change too much. Yeah,
No,
yeah,
no. And but we were fortunate. We had a sophomore that could play the slot Y, not huge like a huge tight end, but he could play the.
yeah.
You would put him at the inside H. Like, hey, you're out. You're the Y
Right.
now. This one you're going to the H and play that. Um, but he was a kid. He tore his ACL and MCL as a freshman basketball player. We
Mm.
got him back week 5 of our season, which we were in shock about. First round playoff game, tries to do this weird spin move, tears everything in his other knee. So both of them are
Ooh,
gone.
yeah. Oh man,
But he has
some
no
bad luck
fear.
there. Yeah,
He's already
yeah,
lifting. He's already lifting. This happened in
right.
November, and he's already in the weight room. He's like, mentally, I was like, I wouldn't be
Yeah,
okay with that. He's like, eh. He goes, what else do I have left to tear? And I'm like, that's
right.
okay too.
That we kind of had a similar situation. Our quarterback, he ended up being our senior quarterback this year, but last year he tore his labrum. The year before I got there, he tore his labrum playing baseball. His junior year, they went wakeboarding on the lake, re-injured his shoulder again. So he was going to be out. He had one more game to go before his surgery, so he can get ready for a baseball season. So just time him, and then
Yeah.
he breaks his tibia in half. So then go back to fast forward a few months, senior season, and then he played. He was our quarterback, and he ended up lighting it up. For him, he got a D3 offer. He's going out to the East Coast to play Division 3 football. And
Hmm.
then if we look back at this a year ago, it was like you probably not going to play baseball.
Hmm.
You know, our football, and the fact that he's playing he's going to play college football is kind of amazing. But true story, that's the kid I told you, like he didn't like to slide, but you got to slide, but like he like
Oh
kill
yeah.
yourself out here. But no fear, team first type of dude. We ran quarterback sneak so much, he was getting the first down. Like he was probably, Jalen Hurts ish
Oh yeah.
as far as getting the first down. So he will plow through and go get it. So
Yeah. We had a,
similarities.
we had a quarterback like that my first year. He was a junior. They called one of our a friend of mine that we played against. He called him like Brent Favre, like he was a gun. He could throw 4 interceptions in a game, but he'll still sling it. He
Yeah,
could
yeah.
run. He wasn't big, but he would just run. That fall season, he was a senior, trying to make a move. He's getting wrapped up. A kid comes down. Guy doesn't have his chin strap strapped all the way, so he comes down, hits him here, breaks his jaw. Like first hit,
Mm,
gets his
yeah,
mouth wired shut.
for
But this
sure.
kid,
Getting
mouth
juice.
wired,
Yeah.
week 3, he's like, I can play. And we're like, no, no, you can't. He tried to
Yeah,
get back in. Like I practice. He comes running out in full gear, like, get what are you
yeah,
doing?
yeah. His mouth's gonna be.
Oh, yeah, he had to drink out of a
Yeah,
straw. Like it was just
for
wild.
sure.
But I'll tell you what, he came back week 9. The doctor cleared him, and last game of his life, we put him in, and nothing changed. He was taking deep shots. He was doing
Yeah,
this.
right.
But you love kids like that. Like, hey, I'm trying to
For
play.
sure.
Because we're like, hey, some kids just would never even. He'd come to practice, still throw. He could throw. Like he would come throw, but some kids would just be like, I'm done. I'm not going to play anymore.
Done. Yeah, check out and get out of here. Right. Go focus on school and figure out what's the next steps. But yeah, you need those type of guys in the program. You really do.
Yeah. And then that next year, no, it was that same year when we went through 5 quarterbacks. That was the first one. Second one, we made a wide receiver go play quarterback. And because it's the 6'3", 210 quarterback I told you, he was a wide receiver. We made him play
Yeah.
quarterback.
Yeah.
For some reason, we ran pin and pull. He kept the ball in pin and pull and tried to run up the middle. And we're like, what just happened?
Oh.
He's
Yeah.
running. He actually got like 6 yards, but instead of getting down, he was trying to run, breaks collarbone the way he got hit. Third
Yeah.
quarterback plays a couple weeks, gets a concussion. So we're like, oh, what do we do now? Put another wide receiver in at quarterback, and we're going to practice. I'm like, you might as well not even pass the ball because this is not going to go well. And then so then we put in him and another wide receiver at quarterback to like keep switching them out, and it was that to be the most frustrating game to coach when you're putting two wide receivers in at quarterback,
Right.
and all you can do is jet sweep reads and maybe a 2 yard hitch. It's the
Yeah.
most. There's no game planning. It's like,
That,
what
that's a
can we
tough
do?
day. Yeah,
Oh,
that's a tough day on the yard, dude.
I tell people that was the most frustrating year. We went through five quarterbacks, four tight ends, two linebackers. I never had the same starting O line lineup at any
Whew.
game.
Yeah.
And we went 0-9, and people were getting on us for going 0-9. And I'm like, look at this injury
Yeah.
report.
Yeah,
Like,
you
it
got no
was
players. Yeah.
kid had COVID at the game. He was like, I'm not feeling good while the game's going on. Trainer's like, I'm going to do a COVID test, I guess. He's like, I got COVID. And we're
Yeah.
like,
Get out of here.
doing here? I had already
Yeah.
had it, so I didn't care. But I'm like, what are you doing?
Right.
I had it three
COVID was a
times.
wild
Yeah.
time. Ooh. Yeah. I mean, let me knock on some wood. But yeah, I had it once, and it was not very pleasant. This was like pre-vax, I think. Just felt like he was dying, but
Yeah, I got
came a
it.
long way.
I had it the first day Illinois said we could go to basketball practice. It was that day. Like
Hmm.
me and my now wife woke up. I said, "Hey, I'm not even going to do." We were remote learning. I was like, "I'm not. I have a headache. I'm not going to watch a computer all day." I put in sick time. She goes, "Wait, you're not going to work?" I'm like, "No." She goes, "We should go get tested." Got tested. We were like, "Oh, we don't have it." We were so confident. We were just like, "Oh, we have
Right.
headaches." Get home, hour later, ding ding on our phones. You're
Yeah.
positive. And we're like, "Oh, I had on the Super Bowl." Like the Super Bowl,
Oh yeah.
I was at home with COVID, got wings ordered, couldn't taste them. Like
Ooh.
we had
Yeah,
it
I didn't
bad.
lose taste. Yeah, I didn't lose
Oh,
taste. I got, and that's the worst.
she had the body aches and pain. She slept for 17
Yeah.
hours one day. Um,
Yeah.
I lost taste and smell. And I don't know if you ever saw the TikTok videos of people trying weird stuff because they couldn't
Oh
taste.
yeah, for sure.
That
Yeah.
was me. I was so
Oh yeah.
curious. I'm like, grabbed an onion and I'm like, I wonder what would
Yeah.
happen. You try drinking
Nothing.
coffee, you couldn't do it. And it was,
Well.
but I lucked out because I thought I would have went to basketball practice. I would have shut the whole
Yeah.
thing down. Like,
Yep.
and then the second time I got it was a whole year later. I woke up. I'm like, something is off.
Hmm.
Something's not right. Got up to go to work. I got in the car. And as soon as I sat in the car, and I was like, wait a minute, I haven't smelled anything all day. So I ran back inside, tried
Mm.
to smell things. And I'm like, I don't have smell again. When got tested, it said I was positive. That next day, it was gone. Like everything was
Oh
normal.
wow.
And I'm
Yeah.
like, didn't feel sick. I'm just like, wait, what? And I'm like, but the rule was you couldn't go for like 5 days.
Right. 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 Right.
The third time I had it was like for an hour. Like it was
Mm.
positive, and then like a day or two,
So,
I tested again. It said negative.
yeah. Quick hit of COVID sliding through.
Well, because the first time almost killed us. Like
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, I'm gonna
I
kill
don't mean
me
to
too.
keep talk. I don't mean to keep talking about COVID, but looking back on it, it's kind of funny because like you have to call the school nurses or doctor or whatever, and they kind of tell you what's about to happen because this is in the thick.
Right.
This was January of
Yeah.
2021, so it's like they said, "Hey," I said, "Hey, does ibuprofen help the headaches? Can I take Dayquil?" And they said, "You can. It ain't gonna help."
No,
I'm
yeah.
like, what do you mean it's not gonna help? And they go, you just kind of have to get through it and make sure you don't sit a lot because if it sits in your body too long, it's gonna take effect." And I'm like, "Oh, okay." And so I every for 2 hours a day was the only time I had energy. Like the rest of it,
Yeah.
taking the dog
Yeah.
outside was like running 4 miles.
Yeah. Deplete you. Yeah.
And so it was a blur though. Like looking back,
Right.
it's just funny how people said things to you. It was almost like good luck. And I'm like, what do you mean good luck?
Right.
Good luck. Hope you
Yeah.
don't die.
Borderline, deathbed. But yeah, I'm so glad we kind of got through that. I mean, it's still lingering around. People catching COVID, it seems like randomly these days, but it's not as bad as it was when we were like in a complete lockdown here in California. We were locked down, man.
Oh
there
yeah.
was not much. There was not much happening around here, but
Illinois
I'm
wasn't
going to the
much.
grocery store.
Illinois wasn't much different, but I don't know if you've ever been to Illinois. It's two completely different worlds.
Yeah, I've
Uh,
been to Chicago. That's the only. Yeah, but I have been to Chicago.
I live in the suburbs. I live in Naperville, and I'm from Central Illinois. Obviously, didn't move up to the suburbs till 2018. There's a highway. It's called
Mm,
I-80, and they call it anything north of I-80 is Chicago. Everything south of I-80 is Illinois. That's what they call it.
gotcha.
And
Okay.
so
Okay.
the viewpoints up here are way different than down south. Like up
Right.
here, we were locked down and like couldn't do anything. Where I grew up, they were like, "This is a town of 500 people. We're fine." Like
Yeah.
it's just a different world. Um,
Hear you.
sorry, I don't mean to keep talking about it. I just think it's funny.
That's okay. No, I remember I was just talking about that not too long ago. It was a wild time, and we just like got through it. You know what I mean? Like,
Oh yeah, that's all you could
yeah,
do was
yeah,
um, you just had to get through it. But another funny thing was I bought a car in November of 2019, and then COVID hits. I'm like, well, there's nowhere to drive. I'm paying for a car you can't drive
right.
because, and I'm a
Can't be
Walking
out on the
Dead
road.
fan. I love the Walking Dead show. So when we would drive somewhere or we get bored and we're like, we're gonna go to a park and just walk the dog,
Yeah,
you're driving and there's nobody in a parking lot. There's nobody.
nobody. Yeah,
You're
no
just like,
traffic anywhere. Yeah,
I'm like, it's the end of the world right now. Nobody's here.
it was pretty close. I mean, that was close as we got in our lifetime. It was pretty close.
And then now it's more. I know California, you guys got your traffic, but now it's like the traffic's even worse than what it was. It's like
Yeah,
people take advantage now. Like I'm gonna go everywhere.
for sure. So we out in like it kind of worked the opposite. We out like in Silicon Valley, and then a lot of these guys are able to work from home. So it's not as crazy as it once
Okay.
was. It's still bad, but
Yeah.
but there was a point where it was just like we had like the charter buses who were getting employees from San Francisco out to Silicon Valley, so
Yeah.
they were on in all the carpool lanes, and now it's just not as bad as it once was. Just a lot of people
Yeah.
have the ability to work remote, so kind of
Yeah.
helps just a little bit, but
Yeah. Um, that was the biggest adjustment moving from Central Illinois, where it's like one lane roads, and now I'm in driving four lane roads, and I'm like, what?
yeah.
You're driving 75 miles an hour, 80 miles an hour to keep up, and you're like, what the
Right,
hell is this? Or like where I'm from, traffic is a tractor. Up here, it could
oh,
be
there you go.
just
Yeah,
too many people driving at the same time.
yeah. Yeah, I mean, I went to school in Oklahoma. I had my days with tractors and you
Yep.
know
Yep.
on the road, and it was chill. It was simple. It was really chill. Like I learned how to just being a city boy, just learn how to like relax down there. And I don't know if I relax too much these days, but learned how to relax down in back down south. But
Before we get back to football, because I told you it's like a rabbit hole. We jumped down a rabbit hole, and this is what
yeah,
happened.
it's all right.
This is the Rogan style. I call it the sports Rogan. It just kind of
Yeah,
happened. Um, where I'm from, it's like, hey, this place is 10 miles away. And then we go by miles. And I know because in my mind, like, oh, 10 miles is going to take me 10 minutes.
right,
Up here, I look at it and I go, oh, this is 12 miles. Yeah, it'll take me 12, 13 minutes to go. No, 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 no. They go by minutes. It's like, it's going to take you 30 minutes to get there. And it's only like 12 miles. And I'm like,
oh yeah, oh yeah,
that's the
oh
biggest thing
yeah,
I learned moving up here was like, I can't base everything off of miles. It has to be
right,
like, it's not gonna, unless you leave in the morning or at night.
right, right, right.
I don't leave for school at 6:45 in the morning. I will hit something.
For sure. And then you're late. I think like five. I mean, here 5 minutes to change your day. Like a
Yeah.
5 minute, you leave 5 minutes late. It
Yep.
it, it can be
Yep.
turn into a 30-minute delay.
That happened leaving school. Like if basketball practice, if I leave at 5:30, it should only take me 20 minutes to get home. It might take me 35 minutes.
Yeah,
Today I left at 5:15. It took me 20 minutes to get home. And I'm like, wait, what?
yeah,
If I would have left 15 minutes later, you know,
yeah,
taking me this long. Like our head football
yeah,
coach lives 40 or 45 minutes away from the school, and that's without traffic. So he knows, hey, if
yeah,
it's 5 o'clock, I'm not even going to go home. I'm going to sit at the school and wait
yeah.
till like 6 to
Right.
go home.
And let traffic die down for sure.
Um, so I think I read you train athletes too, right? Like you coach and
God,
train.
I
You
do.
still do that?
I do. I train a lot. That's kind of like during the off season. It allows me just to touch a lot of athletes within our Bay Area. So
Uh-huh.
um, I'm training kids from San Francisco all the way down to San Jose, and we'll dip into the East Coast. I mean, not the East Coast, the East Bay a little bit.
Yeah,
I kind of stay within like a 30, 40 minute driving distance, right? And
yeah,
but I'm training a lot of kids these days from different schools, and it's been a blessing, right? Now some kids, I coached against them in high school. Now they at the local colleges. Now I'm training them. You know what I mean? So.
right.
Um, I'm glad I'm able to do that and keep a working relationship with a lot of these coaches out here. I think that's the biggest thing that they know. I'm treating their players right. I'm coaching
Yeah,
them to the best of my ability. And at the end of the day, it's about the kids. People say that, but I really truly believe that's about the kids, right? And I don't care
yeah.
who gets credit or whatnot. Like your high school is supposed to get credit, like so be it, right? And then as long as we helping kids get to where they got to get, it just benefits our entire region.
No, that's cool because I selfishly kind of helps you because you're training all sorts of different types of kids. So when you go
Yeah,
back to your high school, like you can kind of do that. But ultimately,
right.
like you said, it's if kids come from a bad home life or need
Mm-hmm.
be, maybe you're the way out, kind of like, hey,
Yep.
this is my
Yep.
outlet. This is, maybe it gives me that extra push.
For sure. For
Because
sure. I think, and it's just different clientele need different things, right? And a lot of the players that I train want help with recruiting, right? And how do
yeah,
you do this? And how should I navigate this? And anybody that's I say under my umbrella, I don't care what school you go to, man, I'm gonna help you out. I'm on the phone with college coaches, day in and day out. And if I got a guy that fits that scheme, whether it be D2 or FCS or Division 1 or D3, I'll present them, right? Because then those are
right,
kids that I can vouch for, right? And I
right.
can tell them the good and bad within those things. But definitely became a trusted resource in San Francisco, and then now just kind of spreading throughout the Bay Area.
That yeah. There's some coaches here at a high school near us. They started, is it COVID or right before they call it fist football, and they train offensive linemen and defensive
Oh
linemen.
yeah.
And what's cool is because I asked them this, we become friends. I said, okay, I sometimes don't trust these quarterback trainers because they're going to do their
Mm-hmm.
thing. They're not going to do what the high school coach wants and stuff like that. So I
Mm-hmm.
asked them, I said, so how do
Mm-hmm.
you handle that? And they go, this is what we do. Steve, you run inside zone, wide zone. This is what you do. Cool. If you have a kid that comes to us and wants us to train them, we call the coaches at the high school and say, what scheme do you
Yeah.
do?
Yeah.
What footwork do you use? And we are going to do what you want. And then we can communicate with you and like give in tips and help out, and you can help
Yeah.
us out. He
For
goes,
sure.
because he goes, if a kid comes to us and they run the wing T, we're not going to teach them zone steps. Like they're running way
Right.
completely
Right.
different things. And if another kid comes to us and they're running air raid and all they do is pass protect and they don't really run, well, we're going to work on pass protection. Uh,
Right.
if you're a D lineman and the coach doesn't want you to two gap, we're not going to teach two gap techniques. We're going to
Right.
teach this. And I said, that's actually really cool. And he said, yeah, it actually helps us because then more kids will come. Coaches trust
For
us.
sure. For trust it, yeah. I,
Yeah.
I agree. And I kind of do the same. Try to stay within their scheme. You know what
Right.
I mean? And I'll teach them different routes and things like that. But at the end of the day, and I always tell them like, you play for X, Y, and Z. They're gonna get you on the field. I don't control the playing time. You know what I mean? I'll teach you how I think you should run this route. And if your
Mhm.
coach say you should be breaking at, you know, on your fifth step, then break on your fifth step. But I'll teach them the basics. But as far as like route combos, I trained a lot of kids from Sarah High School out here, which is our powerhouse, and
Mhm.
I'm really good friends and former teammates with their OC. So we're running things that they run
Right.
within that group. So I'll keep all those kids together. This is the group that I train from here. So it makes sense. You know what I mean? So when they go back to spring ball and summer ball, it's things that they've been running, things that they're familiar with. But you got to have a working relationship, at least over here, because if you don't, you can get a little, get a little. I don't know what the right word is, but get a little
Get a little chippy.
frisky. Yeah, get a little
Chippy.
chippy over here. Like, but I try to, man. I got I don't know. I'm like Switzerland, man. Like I'm just here to,
Mhm.
help whomever.
That's what they do. They do exactly the same. Like, hey, we even help your kid get recruited. Like, if they get a
For
couple kids
sure.
recruited, they're going to call the high
Yeah.
school. They're also going to call them. Their communication with
Hmm.
the head coach. Um,
Yeah.
so they do it the right way, and it's just grown. And like one of them may even said, I may stop teaching because it might cover everything. Like they're getting so much. And I'm like, that's
Right.
great. And then they go to high schools and work out. So then if they go to your high school, they'll give you a free session for those kids. So like
For sure.
if we were to call them up and say, hey, these 2 days you can come use our field and bring all these kids in,
Yep.
they'll say, okay, your entire offensive line gets 2 days for free. And
Yep.
that's how
Yep.
they keep people happy and bring
That,
people in.
yeah. So I do like a little bit different, more so like if I'm doing a lot of kids, I'll just give one set fee. You can bring as many kids as you want. You can bring your freshmen, JV, and varsity, and you can bring whoever else, right? Because I'm already there anyways, right? And
Right.
I'll teach and teach them and kind of train the trainers.
Yeah.
Training other wide receiver coaches. This is what I look for, and this is what I don't like, and you know, and I think at the end of the day, I just tell them this is what I don't like, and you kind of got to build your own thing. But I'll teach you within the parameters of my training curriculum per se.
Right. Right. No, that's cool. I think that's the right way to do it. That's
Right.
you're not out to get anybody. Like I know
No.
plenty of quarterback trainers that are out to get people or just kind of do their own thing. And I mean, God bless
Yeah.
them for the hustle. I mean, they're doing it, they're hustling. I don't care.
Yeah.
But
Right. I think my biggest pet peeve, like, and I just see it's like whether that be quarterback trainers or wide receiver trainers, like we can't base our training off the well, first the NFL are the 1%, right, of
yeah,
athletes. If we talking about like superstars like Tyreek Hill and Patrick Mahomes, things like that, and quirky releases, that's like the 0.01%, right?
yeah,
So how are we basing all of that, all of our training off those guys who I call them unicorns, right?
yeah, yeah, yeah.
So and that's like my only pet peeve when I say like Tyreek Hill can do whatever, damn near wherever he want
Mhm.
within the route scheme, and he's so fast and so good, he's gonna get open anyways.
Right.
You got little Johnny and little Timmy, right? He can't do
Yeah.
those type of things. So that's like my biggest gripe. Like we got to train the basic and the foundations, and not like off the elite athletes, man. And these guys are the elites of the elites of the elites. You know what I mean? So that's just
Yeah.
my biggest gripe with training. So I think just within my training, like it may not look as cool as
Mhm.
as the guys on social media, but now the track record shows that this basic, just think like Jerry Rice s, like just run routes and work on that pays dividends in the long run.
Right. Yeah, our quarterbacks in practice try to do that, and we're like, no.
Kills me.
Oh, you're not going to do it in a
Yeah,
game. Don't even.
yeah,
We had a quarterback rolling out, getting hit. He flipped it to his left hand and tried to throw it.
yeah,
Interception. And we're like,
for
huh.
sure. Yeah,
Why would you do it? Well, I saw so and so do it. We're like, you're not so
right.
and you're not
Don't
so
do it
and so.
again. Yeah. I mean, that's like lovely when you got a backup quarterback that's pretty decent. All right, you're out. Like, what, let him get a shot and you watch him,
Yeah,
for a couple of series, even though he may not do it as well, but he's doing it within the system and we
yeah.
moving the ball. But yeah, some blessings on having depth in the QB room.
Or even our defensive ends try to spin because they're like, we see it on Saturdays and Sundays, and we're like,
Yeah.
you ain't them, brother.
Yeah. Yeah.
You,
Stop it. Yeah.
you're not a guy at Clemson or Alabama or whatever.
Right.
You don't
Right.
play
And
for.
then and they don't understand like the technique. Like
Yeah,
he knows how to throw his weight around and, power strike with his inside arm. You just out there spinning and flapping around, so
oh yeah, oh yeah. Or you're doing it to get away from contact. They're getting contact first and then doing it. Like
yeah.
you're doing it to get
Right.
away. Or like one of them goes,
Yeah.
"Oh, I watched Dwight. This is how old I feel. Well, I watched
Yeah.
Dwight Freeney highlights, and I'm like, oh
Yeah.
God, I
Yeah.
feel old. Number one, because I
Yeah.
watched him in his prime.
For sure.
You are not even his big toe.
Hey, yeah. I just don't but because they do it so flawlessly,
Yeah,
right? And it's like, dude, like that dude is so good, right? He's so good at his craft and he practiced it. And yeah, tough
yeah,
times, especially with and I love social media as far as like the Twitter world, especially with coaching, but it's a lot of stuff on there that's some bad stuff and bad learning tips. And
right.
and some people have a platform and they, it's unfortunate.
Yeah. Well, Coach, I kept you on for a long time. I appreciate you spent. Well, I guess it's nighttime for me. You're getting into the nighttime. It's nighttime for me.
It's dark, but it's still early. It's 6 o'clock, but it's still early. But it's pitch dark now. But
Oh yeah, it's eight.
it's
It's
not.
8 o'clock here. You know,
Oh yeah.
it's. I always talk to Coach Kurt Hines. He's on here all the time.
Oh yeah, for sure. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
And,
He's down in L.A. Yeah, love that
yeah.
guy. He
Oh, he's great.
does it the right way. He does it the right way.
He comes on here once a year. We text sometimes back and forth. But it's always funny. He's like, "Hey, can you do this time?" And I'm like, "You realize that'd be like 9 p.m. my time." Like
Yeah, yeah,
he has so much
yeah,
going on. I'm like, "You." I text
yeah,
back, "Well, wait a minute. That's like 9:30. Like, come on
yeah.
now."
Yeah,
So I'm not
yeah,
used
it
to
is
that.
tough. You kind of forget, like, shit, we're trying to get back home and get things settled. But I appreciate you having me on and kind of, pushing your time back to 7. And
Oh yeah.
it's good chatting with you, man, about football. And we got into our little COVID caveat, and I appreciate the time, Steve, for sure.
Yeah. Oh, sorry. One last thing. I do have my LA thing. I got Kobe right there.
I see you over there. I see you over there. Represent, yeah. You know,
He was my favorite
I
player.
was I was a down in. I mean, this side of the world, they love Kobe. I respect Kobe. I was more of like a Jordan, a Jordan fan. So, and then I
He's
got
right
into
there.
LeBron. Okay, then there you go. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. When I went to the Bulls game, when I went down to Chicago, we went to the Bulls game, and that thing felt. There was some like euphoria in there. Like you felt greatness
Uh-huh.
going into that United Center, just being inside there. So
Yeah.
got to experience that.
Jordan's one, Kobe's two.
There
That's
you
what it
go.
was.
For sure. Jordan's one for me too. So we on the same page.
There's no LeBron in here, as you can see.
That's unfortunate, Steve. It's unfortunate. That's unfortunate.
That's a whole other podcast episode right there.
Yeah,
Well,
it's
again,
okay. You're a Bears fan, so I'm gonna give you a break. Yeah, I'll give you a break here. I see the little Bears off to the right. So
yeah. Uh, you know what? It is what it is. But no, I appreciate you.
for sure. Thanks, Steve. Right on, man.